What's up, you guys? We're back, we're live. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. You understand me? We're back with the Epstein files. Yet another story. The fallout continues. And I've missed a couple of updates in this, but this latest update, guys, as you can see here with, I want to call him Prince Andrew, but we got to stick to former Prince Andrew because that really emphasizes the fallout here and what's happened. Former Prince Andrew officially being arrested over in the UK. We're going to break down all of the details about what actually happened. This is connected to the Epstein files, so we're going to actually break down why he was arrested, how it exactly coincides with Epstein, and of course take a look at what could potentially happen to him legally. He has not officially been charged with anything yet, but that is going to be coming down the line very soon. So to everybody just joining, make sure to smash that like. It's good to be back streaming. I wanted to kick things off with a quick shout out to two people. There's two birthdays that I really wanted to acknowledge off the top of the stream. Number one is, of course, my best friend, Justice Sanford. Shout out to my boy, Youth Among Us, the band. My boy is just an incredible person, and he's been here supporting me since day one, so I wanted to give him a huge happy birthday shout out before I jump into today's story. And the other shout out I want to give is to Uncle Joey. Happy birthday to Uncle Joey Coco Diaz, man. You know I love you with all my heart, and it's incredible to have had you in my life and had your support, man. So shout out to you, Uncle Jay. I know everybody watching this has big love for Uncle Joey. So I had to throw that out there before we jump into the story about Prince Andrew. So let's hop into the main story right now. Prince Andrew officially arrested. So here's exactly what he was arrested for. Now, this is a little bit multi-layered, and it adds some context to the story. The official reason for Prince Andrew's arrest, or the former Prince Andrew, was suspicion of misconduct in public office. Now, the police detained him under this UK offense, which is a serious offense in the UK, by the way. I mean, I was looking into this recently before this stream. I didn't realize just how serious this offense actually was. But if he's actually charged for this offense, he could potentially be facing life in prison. Now, I highly doubt this is going to happen to him because he's a former royal. I don't think that they would actually subject him to life in prison. That would be pretty damaging for the establishment. However, that is the severity of this charge, and that's how far this could actually go if they decide to escalate it. So just a little bit of context there about what's happening. So this is a serious offense which relates to the abuse of a public role in the UK, which, by the way, is completely rich to me because if they were really enforcing this law, I think everybody would be in jail. Keir Starmer, I think most of the royals, if they were really going to enforce this, they'd probably have them all behind bars, but that's a different story. So the actual accusation of what the misuse of power was that the investigation focused on alleged forwarding of sensitive government information to Jeffrey Epstein, which, I mean, if that's not making you have alarm bells go off, I don't know what will. So Prince Andrew was forwarding a lot of confidential info to Jeffrey Epstein directly through his emails, which have now been leaked. It says that they date back to when he served as a UK trade envoy. He sent him emails about China, the UK, and different deals that were happening all over the globe. And this is not directly related to sexual charges quite yet. That's the other detail that we have to mention here. There is going to be investigation as to Prince Andrew's role in the Epstein case when it comes to sexual misconduct. But the main issue right now and what he's been taken in for and now released is the actual issue of sending confidential government information to Jeffrey Epstein. So that's the main scoop about this story that you guys have to know before we jump in. Shout out to Nikki in the chat. So what do you guys want to do? Should we maybe read some of the emails or should we hop into... Oh, they want me to sign in for this article? Please. I hate when they do all that crap. I mean, I guess I'll humor them and sign in so we can see what the actual emails were. But I want to get as much information as possible. Let's maybe look at this video for a little bit more context, guys. For anybody just joining, we're gonna make it clear about what's going on.
A haunted-looking former Prince Andrew.
Yeah, look at his face, dude. He does look like a rat. Shout out to Patrick. He looks like a scared little rat. And I would imagine what they told him in the briefing room, because he was interrogated, I think, for about 12 hours. This happened on his 66th birthday. Dude got dragged in and interrogated for hours on end. I would imagine whatever they told him in that interrogation has got him losing sleep.
Released after nearly 12 hours in police custody. Driven away from a police station in eastern England after his unprecedented arrest in the early hours
Hey, shout out the chat.
of his 66th birthday. The king's younger brother taken into custody on suspicion of misconduct in public office, while authorities searched his house in Norfolk and his former royal residence near Windsor Castle. Andrew has not been charged with a crime, and authorities have not made public the details of the allegations against him.
And this is a bit of an old report from about 9 hours ago. The details have come out, and he's officially was being arrested due to leaking confidential information to Jeffrey Epstein. That was the initial reason for the search and the arrest.
But his release doesn't mean he's in the clear, and he could still face charges. Police tonight saying he is under investigation. It comes weeks after the Justice Department released emails Andrew allegedly sent to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2010. Andrew was serving as a UK trade envoy at the time and appears to have forwarded Epstein British government documents on trade policy.
Now, why would you be forwarding, just for clarity here, this is my main question. Why would you ever in any scenario be forwarding private government documents? It's been a long day, folks. My apologies. Private government documents. Why would you be forwarding this to, first of all, any form of American financier? Let's just take Jeffrey Epstein out of the equation for 2 seconds. If you're forwarding this type of information to anybody from America, anybody who's not actually involved in government, that raises a red flag, and it almost seems like something that one wouldn't do. This is exactly why I question Jeffrey Epstein's role, and I strongly believe that he was a government asset. Why would all these people be sending him government materials, government files, classified information from the government? Why would they be sending this to somebody who was not in government? It doesn't make sense. If you look at any other financier in New York City, which, by the way, Jeffrey Epstein was not a real financier, he was a complete fraud. But if you look at these other guys, they didn't have this level of access. And why would there be interest in sending this to Epstein if he was not a government agent? That's a question that still needs to be answered.
Also in the files, these photos of Andrew kneeling over an unidentified woman. It's not clear
Sickening.
why. King Charles was not told in advance about today's arrest.
How is this not enough for him to be behind bars, by the way? See, this is the messed up world that we're living in. How in the world can this photo come out and they're like, oh, that's not the reason he was arrested? He should have been put under the jail the second this photo came out.
Why?
I don't even want to look at this photo.
King Charles was not told in advance about today's arrest, a palace official tells NBC News.
Do you have any reaction to the arrest of your brother, sir?
Your Majesty, how are you feeling after your brother's arrest?
Saying in a statement, I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. Has the royal family ever faced a crisis like this before?
Not in modern memory.
No, they always got away with it. Before, they always got away with it, so there was no crisis.
400 years or so.
In fact, the last time a royal was arrested was in 1647, when King Charles I was captured in the English Civil War. And
Bro, imagine all the stuff they got away with since 1647. That's the last time one was arrested?
in 1647, when
Bro,
King
imagine the crimes they've gotten away with. I'm supposed to believe there was no crime since 1647? No, they were just innocent the whole time. Nothing to see here, folks. They're making up made-up names for themselves. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Get the fuck. Can we just abolish the royals, please?
1647.
This whole thing is so stupid.
When King Charles I was captured in the English Civil War. Andrew stepped back from royal duties in 2019, following this interview with the BBC about his relationship with Epstein.
But you were staying at the house of
Yes.
a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
And
Look, I'm only part of the royal family. You know, when we travel, we have limited options, is basically what he's saying. He's like, look, I'm a royal. You know, where can I stay? The Travel Lodge, Best Western. We have limited options as royals. It's not like we have all these things at our disposal. So the most convenient place for me to stay in a city like Manhattan, because let's face it, I mean, there's not many hotels in Manhattan. I mean, what do you think? There's a lot of hotels in New York City? No, there's limited options. The most convenient place for me to stay was with a convicted pedophile. Because, you know, I have a lack of access to things. That's what he wants us to believe?
is in 2019, following this interview with the BBC about his relationship with Epstein.
But you were staying at the house of
Yes.
a convicted sex offender.
It was a convenient place to stay.
It was convenient. There's only so many hotels in New York.
Andrew has consistently denied any wrongdoing in his association with Epstein. He denied having ever met Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who said she was forced to have sex with Andrew when she was 17. She died by suicide last year. Today,
Suicide. Right. Convenient suicide.
her family calling the arrest a vindication.
It's a very proud moment for us.
Andrew was stripped of his royal titles last year as Giuffre's posthumous memoir was published. Back in the U.S., some of the highest profile names are also under scrutiny. Bill Gates is skipping an AI summit in India as questions swirl over his ties to Epstein. And Casey Wasserman, the chair of the 2028 Olympics, is facing calls to resign and selling his talent agency because of his links to Ghislaine Maxwell.
See, the whole house of cards is coming down. These guys are running scared. Bill Gates is canceling appearances. People are selling their companies. The whole rat nest is just running in a scramble. All the rats are trying to relocate and find a new place to go. They're burrowing. They're taking little sticks, trying to rebuild a fort somewhere, trying to regain some power and control. These sick, disgusting people are scrambling, and it shows.
Because of his links to Ghislaine Maxwell. Neither man has been accused of criminal wrongdoing.
No!
Andrew's arrest today, the latest chapter in his long fall from grace and the international fallout from the Epstein files.
And Raf joins us live from Buckingham Palace tonight. Raf, could the former prince face prison time?
Potentially, Tom, yes. Misconduct in public office is a serious offense. In the most extreme cases, it can lead to life imprisonment. That doesn't seem likely here, and it could still be weeks before prosecutors make a final decision on whether or not to bring charges. Tom?
Raf Sanchez for us. Raf, thank you. We thank you for...
There you go, guys. The quick update about former Prince Andrew officially being arrested. Shout out to the chat. I'm watching you guys, and you guys definitely know what's up. You guys see through it. It's so refreshing to me how many people actually see through it, by the way. You know, that to me is a really big positive shift in where we're at. Because here's where we're at, guys. We're at a very strange point now that I don't think we've ever reached before, where all of the hypotheses, all of the rumors that were swelling in the background, all of these things that people kind of knew about or kind of talked about when it comes to the habits of these rich and powerful people, they're no longer questions. We've had all the answers pretty much come out. We used to question if they abused their power. We used to question if there were maybe sick individuals at the top running things. We used to question if there were strange rituals going on or strange cult-like behavior or activities. Now these are no longer questions. We have all of the answers laid out in front of us, and it's come to light that most of these things are actually true. They're actually happening. So we're at a fascinating point in time now where people are at a crossroads. We know what's up, but we don't know what to do about it yet. And at least the silver lining about this is that most people are waking up, because we've come so far from the era we were in before where people were like, all of this is a conspiracy theory. If you think they're doing stuff like this at the top, well, you're crazy. You don't belong at Thanksgiving dinner. You're a conspiracy theorist with Alex Jones, who, by the way, was right about most things. I mean, you take Sandy Hook out of the equation, he was right about most things. It's come to light now that all of these crazy people were right about most things. So what do we do, though? That's the biggest question for me. What do we do? How do we start our revolution? Who's going to lead it? Should it be me? I mean, if it's not going to be you, maybe it's me. Who's it going to be? I'm not sure. But we're at a point now where we are charged with the task of figuring out what we do about this. I don't know what to do about it yet, but again, the silver lining is that people are waking up and people are now starting to be held accountable. And I got to be honest, I'm shocked that the accountability has started in the UK. I mean, the amount of corrupt stuff happening in their government and with the royal family, I would have never in a million years thought that the accountability for the Epstein files was going to start in the UK. I figured it would be in the USA, at least by Trump, to try to maneuver, some sort of positive look for him. They're trying to really manufacture a pursuit of the Epstein files, and they're making it look like they're being transparent. So I would have thought a lot of the arrests and stuff like that would come from the United States to start. I am quite surprised that it's starting in the UK. So let's go ahead and take a look at some more information And we're going to look at what the emails actually were that were sent to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm seeing some stuff in the chat here. Yeah, guys, it's crazy. Reptiles do not do jail. I don't know, man. He might go to jail, though, because, look, guys, these people realize that if they don't start locking somebody up, people are going to start getting hurt. I mean, and again, I don't endorse violence, but Bill Gates and all these guys, they know if they keep going in and out of these conferences with these smug smiles on their faces and all this money and having no accountability, something's going to happen. There's going to be some kind of revolution, whether it's one act or whether it's many acts. Shit's going to start hitting the fan if there's not even a performance of accountability. See, even if they arrest the people who have nothing to really do with it, or they throw some people under the bus who are like scapegoats, somebody's got to go to jail, except for Ghislaine Maxwell. Otherwise, I think people will never let this story go. If they don't start arresting somebody, and that's what I think is happening behind the scenes. They're like, okay, who can we afford to lose is basically the question that people are asking. Can we afford to lose Bill Gates? The elites are asking themselves. Well, probably not. He's a pretty valuable asset. So if we don't arrest Bill Gates, who do we arrest? Well, I guess the former prince. We don't really need him. Notice how the people that the elites really need, those people never get arrested or really held accountable in any way. They need Trump. They need Netanyahu. They need all these guys to a degree. Those guys will never go to jail. It's the people right now that they don't really need who are going to be thrown under the bus. I can guarantee it. So let's take a look at what the emails were. Now, there's a lot of filler written in these articles. I'm going to try to find the actual files. We actually have gone through the Epstein files here on this stream. Okay, so here's actual emails from the files. So these are some of the private emails that Prince Andrew, former Prince Andrew at the time, shared with Jeffrey Epstein. So it says that he, in October 2010, forwarded official reports of his visits to Singapore, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Shenzhen, China. The reports were sent to Jeffrey Epstein by former Prince Andrew just 5 minutes after he'd received them from Amit Patel, who was his special agent, special assistant rather, who actually wrote the articles that were shared. So the emails released, it says that in this infamous news site interview in 2019, former Prince Andrew said he had last seen Epstein in early December of 2010 to tell him he was breaking off the friendship. However, emails released by the U.S. Department of Justice show that on Christmas Eve of the same year, he messaged Epstein and sent him confidential briefing about investment opportunities in Afghanistan. So Prince Andrew caught in another lie. He said on tape that he broke off the relationship with Epstein in the beginning of December and never spoke to him again. Caught in another lie. So let's see what the actual email itself says. Email from the Duke. It feels too convenient. Is that really his email name, the Duke? It's like, I feel like when you email a celebrity, like the email shouldn't be like bradpitt1@gmail.com. I feel like it's a little too convenient. Maybe it's fake. So the email says, Jay, attached is a confidential brief produced by the Provincial Reconstruction Team in Helmand Province for international investment opportunities. These are not exclusive to Helmand Province, but principally focus on that province. I'm going to offer this elsewhere in my network, including Abu Dhabi, but would be very interested in your comments, views, or ideas as to whom I could also usefully show this to, attract some interest. I've sadly already found out that the Gates Foundation doesn't do anything in Afghanistan, so this is pretty consistent with the other people reaching out to Epstein. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the one thing that's consistently said about Jeffrey Epstein is that he was basically a human Rolodex. He was, people talk about Jeffrey Epstein's black book. Jeffrey Epstein was essentially used himself as a human black book because he essentially had the contact to anybody that you would want to reach out to in business, in politics, in the world of even spiritual leaders and basically any sort of influencers who actually influence. You know, people call social media personalities influencers. That's bullshit, okay? The real influencers are the people who lead these countries, the people who lead these tech companies, the people who lead these crypto firms, the bankers. Those are the real influencers because those are the people who influence the way that we live our lives every single day. The idea that a social media personality is an influencer, and I hate when people call me an influencer. It's such a disgusting term because, first of all, I don't want to influence anybody. I think if you're setting out to influence people, we need to keep an eye on you. It's a bit of a red flag. But the idea that social media is influencing anybody is absurd. The people who own social media, those are the influencers. We are little, pedals in the wind at the will of their algorithms. We don't control shit. The only people who succeed on social media are the people who fall in line with the big tech. So that's the way I see that. Nonetheless, Jeffrey Epstein had access to every single person who was of influence. And this is why a lot of people reached out to him. So we see some more emails here. He was talking about, the Prime Minister of Iceland. He's talking about the UK. He's talking about private meetings with the Chancellor's private secretary. All of these emails conveniently going to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that Jeffrey Epstein was a government asset or not? I mean, I've asked various chats about this in different streams. To me, I think it's blatantly obvious that Jeffrey Epstein was a government asset. And I actually would go as far to say that if you're still arguing that he wasn't at this point, you're either ill-informed or just being willfully ignorant at this point. I think that the conspiracy theory is no longer Jeffrey Epstein. It's believing the official story about Jeffrey Epstein. That is the real conspiracy theory. If you think this dude was just some independently wealthy financier, by the way, of which there's no documentation that he's a financier. There's no financial records. There's nothing. There's nothing that suggests that he was even a financier. Real financiers met him and said, this guy is not a financier. But if you really believe the story that this dude was just balling out and just everybody just liked this dude and he just had all these connections, you're a little crazy. I mean, how far can you suspend your disbelief to actually believe something like this? It's pretty ridiculous. And it's kind of like the 9/11 story too. Like at this point in 2026, if you still believe that 9/11 happened exactly as we're told it happened, to me, it's almost like Santa Claus for adults. It's like you're believing in something that logically doesn't add up. The math is just not connecting. The numbers don't add. But somehow people are able to suspend their common sense to a degree to fit the narrative that they've already committed to. Very, very strange. But this is what people did in the beginning too with Epstein. They didn't even want to believe that this was happening when people were saying there's a sex island. Why would people be saying these things if they weren't true? It's just unbelievable to me. What are you guys saying in the chat? Are you talking about the phone call Trump made to the FBI in 2006, taking them for finally going after Epstein? No. I mean, I'm happy to talk about that, but I'm not talking about Trump today. We're talking about Prince Andrew. Sometimes it's who you know, not what you know. Absolutely. Look, Jeffrey Epstein was a very well-connected person, but for what reason? Do you think you just know the Dalai Lama and you just know all these people just because? Okay, let's go into a little bit more information about Prince Andrew, guys. Stop lying. Who's lying? I'm not lying at all.
When Queen Victoria purchased the Sandringham
So this is going to explain how the arrest actually unfolded.
estate in 1862, she could not have imagined the scene which unfolded there this morning. At breakfast time, a number of unmarked police cars arrived unannounced, their task to arrest the younger brother of King Charles. Today is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's birthday. He has spent most of it in police custody, answering questions.
That's a W, by the way. Arresting a pedophile on his birthday. We should wait until all of their birthdays and just give them the death penalty. That's what we should do to all pedos.
By 10 a.m. this morning, Thames Valley Police confirmed they had made an arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office and were searching addresses here in Norfolk and in Berkshire. At Royal Lodge in Windsor, where Andrew had been living until the start of this month, black vans were filmed entering the grounds earlier today.
So satisfying.
At midday, the first response from Buckingham Palace, and the statement was signed Charles R., meaning this was from the King himself. He spoke of how he had learned with the deepest concern of his brother's arrest and insisted a full, fair and proper process should follow in terms of the investigation. The King repeated he was ready to fully cooperate with the police, and then in the starkest way possible he wrote, "Let me state clearly, the law must take its course." And this afternoon, just as...
But how can we trust the law when they let you guys get away with this for so long? Like, this is the equivalent of the police investigating themselves and finding they had no wrongdoing. This is the issue with this entire case. We've lost faith in the bodies in which we're supposed to trust to investigate these things. You know, in America, they talk about the FBI and the CIA investigating. We don't trust the FBI anymore. We don't trust the CIA anymore, so I don't even want to see them investigate it. These guys were instrumental in covering this up for decades. The royal family has been instrumental in covering this up for decades. Why would I want them to investigate a damn thing? You guys knew it was happening. You kept it secret because you're sick pedos. You guys are demented in the head. You have a disorder. It's a sickness. That's why. So I don't even want their investigation.
He pledged he would.
To be honest.
The King continued with his public engagements.
Do you have any reaction to the arrest of your brother, sir?
Your Majesty, how are you feeling after your brother's arrest?
Today's diary did...
Yeah, we already talked about what the charges are, guys. Nobody's claiming that they're sex crimes. The official charge is that he was, and he hasn't even been charged at this point. The reason he was arrested was for misconduct in public office. It is not for sex crimes. However, the misconduct is directly related to the private information the prince shared with Jeffrey Epstein. So we've made this clear from the beginning of the stream. He is currently under investigation for sex crimes and for many other things involving Jeffrey Epstein. However, let's be perfectly clear with what I'm reporting on here. He has not yet been charged of any crimes. He's technically innocent up until this point. And the official crimes he's being investigated for, they do involve sexual crimes, but the main focus is misconduct under public office, which is a serious crime in the UK, which can be done for anything. It's not a sex charge.
Not changed.
Let's be clear here.
But the questions on his arrival did.
Have you spoken to your brother, Your Majesty?
He had all his senior staff with him. He knows, just as they know, what a precarious moment this is. As for another of Queen Elizabeth's children, Princess Anne, her diary today included a visit to a prison. She didn't cancel it.
She's going to be visiting Andrew in prison soon. They should have put him in one of the cells for the prison visit.
What's your reaction to your brother's arrest, Your Royal Highness?
Like her brother, she heard the question but didn't respond.
Worms.
So why did police launch a criminal investigation? It followed an assessment of the most recently released Epstein files made public by the US Department of Justice. Those files appeared to show emails from the then Prince Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein at around the time they were photographed in Central Park in New York. Police are investigating if confidential papers about business opportunities were shared by the then prince and if that amounts to misconduct in public office. At the time, Andrew was a trade ambassador on behalf of the British government, a role which would have given him access to sensitive and confidential documents. The arrest is not connected to claims made by Andrew's accuser, the late Virginia Giuffre.
Such a creepy photo, man. It's such a posed photo, and he denied that it was even him in the photo, by the way. I feel like we have to pull up the interview that he did. I mean, that interview was like a hostage tape.
Nor was it the result of new claims. A woman was trafficked to Andrew for sex in 2010. Police are still assessing those. The Prime Minister speaking before...
Insane, guys. So look, at the end of the day, I'm happy about this because it's at least one of the dominoes falling when it comes to people being held accountable. It's not directly related to a sex crime yet, but when you talk about a guy being investigated for his relation to Jeffrey Epstein, the police have not officially released everything they're investigating. I would be willing to bet that they're investigating that. I mean, that photo is a problem, guys. The photo of Prince Andrew hovering over a child like that, that is one of the most despicable and shocking photos I think that's come out in the Epstein files. And that photo is a problem. Let me tell you what, especially due to the fact that, like I said before, this guy is not valuable to the elites anymore. He's been stripped of his royal title. He's not even a prince anymore. This is the dude, I can guarantee it, who's going to take most of the fall for this. Because again, somebody's going to have to do hard prison time for this in order for this story to go away and for the elites to retain some level of illusion of control. Because right now what these people are realizing, whether it's Trump, whether it's Bill Gates, whether it's Netanyahu, any of these political officials or big business people, big tech guys, they know that we are on to them. And they understand that they're about to lose almost all of their power and all of their money if we decide to turn on them. I think they're realizing that we are kind of waking up more every day as people. We're realizing we don't have to give money to Microsoft. We don't have to give money to, these businesses. We don't have to support these people. We can actually make these people lose a lot of money. We can stop doing a lot of stuff. We can go on strikes. We can stop paying taxes. There's a lot of stuff that we can do if we band together. And the only way that we are not going to start an actual revolution as people, because I would say there's some kind of civil revolution brewing right now, but it's not enough. There's a lot of angry people. There's a lot of people like the people in my chat who understand what's happening. We understand that these people are evil. We understand all of it. But we're not doing anything really about it. We're on the right path. But my point is this. If this continues and people keep getting off the hook and not being held accountable and the anger grows, the people in power know that we're not going to stand for it forever. And eventually, there will be some kind of revolution. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but there's going to be something. So the only way for them to remedy this is to have a couple of people do some hard time. And mark my words, because my predictions on this are usually correct. February 20th, Prince Andrew's going to do some hard time. And we'll probably see 1 to 3 other scapegoats who are not that valuable to the establishment anymore, that they're willing to lose. We're going to see those people get thrown under the bus very soon. That to me is my full hypothesis. That to me is the only way that they can get over this. Because people are not going to stop talking about it. And the number one question is, with all of this evidence, with all of the things that we know about the Epstein files, with all of the people who've been named in it, why has there been no arrests made? Why has nobody been held accountable? That's the question people are asking. And they can't keep this up, guys. They know they're not going to get away with it if they don't make some kind of performative arrests. It's all performative. Everything happening with even the files coming out is performative. You're releasing files with redacted names. That doesn't tell us anything, dude. You're giving us slop. You're giving us distractions. You're waffling. All these people are still being protected, and the anger is growing, and it's tangible. It's something that you can't see, but it's like you can feel it. I could feel it in my hands, the anger that people are having right now against these individuals. And rightfully so. What are we going to do about it, though, guys? That's really the question that I'm asking. I'm seeing Ghislaine Willer might get 25 years for lying on her citizenship application. Dude, she should get 1,000 years. But to me, it makes no sense, because why is Ghislaine the only one who's being held accountable? I mean, there's people who are implicated in equally egregious, if not, it's not a contest, but if not worse crimes in the Epstein files. Why are they not in jail? Why is Bill Gates not in jail? First of all, for any of the other stuff he's done, but, let alone this. If an average individual, here's what drives me crazy. This is when I want to fucking go nuts. If the average individual did 1/3 of the crimes that most of these people in the Epstein files were accused of, they would be in jail for the rest of their lives. Why are we playing by a different set of rules than these people? So I go do this crime, I'm going straight to prison. No questions asked. But maybe if I made Microsoft, I wouldn't go to jail. We just saw Epstein's former lawyer. Let's pull this up. This is crazy. Let's look at Epstein's former lawyer. He basically says on the Piers Morgan show, we'll see if we can find the clip in a quick amount of time. He admitted that if Epstein was part of the Mossad or part of the CIA, he would have been let off on all of his crimes, including pedophilia, guys. You can't make this up. They're telling us there's a different set of rules. Let's see this here. So Dershowitz says that, yeah, if you work for Mossad, this is Alan Dershowitz, who was Epstein's lawyer. Let's take a listen to this clip, guys. Openly admitting that if you are Israeli intelligence or working for the CIA, you can get away with any crime, including pedophilia. And I think it's really important to play this because people say, oh, Cassius, you're exaggerating. You say they get away with it. They're not getting away with it. This is ridiculous. Listen to this clip. I can assure you, because they're telling us they are getting away with it.
Mr. Alan Dershowitz just said is the best recruitment video for Mossad. Basically, they're telling people, if you're Mossad, you can get away with anything. The same thing that will happen with Tom Alexandrovich, the cybersecurity guy from Netanyahu's government who was arrested in Nevada for trying to lure a minor in an FBI stint operation, and he got off the hook. He traveled. He didn't even have to attend his trial. He did Zoom from Israel. And like Ori Solomon, just a couple of days ago, there was a biolab in Nevada that nobody is actually talking about. Actually, as a matter of fact, the mainstream media, they reported it, but the evidence that charity was funded, it's like, I have to be here just for the gas.
I want to see him actually saying it. 1 second.
Lawyer could have parlayed his membership and paying prostitutes, one who was 17 years old and 10 months. I could have gotten him no jail time for that if he had been a member of the Mossad.
I mean, I just want to respond to that with just like almost a moment of silence. First of all, the fact that this dude, and this is what enraged me about this whole interview with Epstein's lawyer, the entire time during this interview, this dude is saying that, well, Epstein only slept with a girl who was 17 years old and 10 months, he kept saying. 17 and 10 months, as if that's supposed to soften the blow. I think a pretty good rule of thumb is that if you need to say how many months of age the person you're having relations with is, maybe they're too young for you to be having them with. 17 years old and 10 months, this guy says. Let me get in a room with this fucking guy.
I have done all of those things, but when I was representing him, all he was being charged with was these 2 counts of paying prostitutes, one who was 17 years old and 10 months. I could have gotten...
in 10 months. Never mind then. Drop the charges.
Him no jail time for that if he had been a member of the Mossad. Any good lawyer could have parlayed his membership and his contribution to intelligence into a deal. Or, for example, if he had anything on Donald Trump or anything on Bill Clinton, of course any prosecutor would exchange this nobody, who nobody had ever heard of at the time, getting free from prison for, my God, the president, former president, future president. No, the best evidence is that he never, ever tried to tell me anything that would help him, that would support any of these theories about Clinton or Trump or the Mossad. So I am completely confident that he was not an intelligence asset. I wish, your previous guest is right. He would have been a perfect intelligence asset if I were the head of the Mossad. I would say, oh my God, now that I know who he knew.
If I was the head of the Mossad. Alan Dershowitz, by the way, one of the main lawyers for the Mossad. This is a verifiable fact. So we're literally listening to Mossad covering up for Mossad.
Bill Gates, everybody, the Sultan of this, the Sultan of that. Sure, we try to recruit him, but they didn't know that at the time because he didn't have many of those friends back in the 1980s and 1990s. Many of them became his friends, ironically, after he got out of prison.
Absolutely stunning videotape. So I guess, look, if you're Israeli intelligence, this is what we're told. If you're Israeli intelligence, you can get away with being a literal pedo. But we're also told that Israel is not set up to defend pedos or shelter them in any way. So that doesn't add up. Why are we told these two conflicting messages? Anybody who tries to say that Israel is a haven for pedophiles to be sheltered and protected, they're somehow called anti-Semitic immediately and written off. Yet one of the head people who's actually coming from working with Israel, he works with the Mossad. He is telling us, it's not even speculation, he is telling us that you can get away with this stuff if you are tied to Israel. So what are we doing here? We're not allowed to question this when it's literally said right in front of us. You know, I've been worried about the security of my channel asking some of these questions, but if I got to go down for it, I'll go down for it, chat. I'm going to start asking some very serious questions. I've had to take down streams for asking some of these questions. I'm going to keep asking them. I don't give a fuck. Something's not adding up. Something stinks. People talk about the Michael Jackson files. Bro, Michael Jackson was innocent. It's so nice, by the way, to see the fact that Michael Jackson is actually getting a proper apology. He's actually getting a proper apology. And I feel like the whole thing against Michael Jackson was one of the saddest, most tragic things that ever happened in the music business. For that dude to be called what he was called, I think it's tragic. I think he was a good man. I think he was a man with a good heart. And I do think it is strange to a degree. If we're to take out the realities of Michael Jackson's history, it's very strange that he had the involvement he did with children, but it makes perfect sense when you actually diagnose it for what it was, which is a man who was trying to recreate his childhood. You know, for a regular, mentally healthy adult male to just be spending time with kids just for fun, that's odd. I will agree. I'd say that's completely odd and should probably actually be investigated, if you're really being honest. But for a man in Michael's scenario, the places he's been mentally and not been mentally, and the experiences he's missed out on, it made sense. And it was a sadly convenient thing to place on him because it was low-hanging fruit. Most people didn't know his history like that. Most people just saw it like I described it, as a healthy adult man who just wanted to be around kids. That would definitely be odd. I agree with that. It was low-hanging fruit for Michael. So let's take a look at some of this here about Michael. So apparently Michael was actually protecting children from Epstein.
I met Michael Jackson at Epstein's house in Palm Beach, asked whether she massaged Jackson.
Before I would hurt a child, I would slip my wrist. I would never hurt a child. This is totally false. I was outraged.
What if I told you that one single photograph was enough to drag Michael Jackson?
Isn't that a fake photo? I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist and say everything's fake, but this looks fake.
Back into one of the darkest scandals in modern history. Not a confession, not a court document, just a picture. When the Epstein files were released and people saw Michael's face appear in the same batch of...
It doesn't make what he did okay. What did Michael do, though? Michael didn't do anything. Michael tried to shelter kids and help kids who were actually from bad situations like he was in a lot of ways. So... Again, what did Michael do exactly? He brought kids to Neverland. He made a haven for people who'd been abused and hurt. I don't see the problem there.
Documents as Jeffrey Epstein, the internet exploded. Headlines moved fast. Comments moved faster. Suddenly, the king of pop was being linked to a trafficking scandal that shook the world. But here's the uncomfortable part. Being photographed near someone is not the same thing as knowing who they really are. And before we jump to conclusions, we need to separate documented facts from internet assumptions. What they got instead was a massive dump of names, flight logs, contacts, and photographs, many of them without context. Among those images was a photo of Michael Jackson with Jeffrey Epstein. That alone was enough to trigger outrage online. But here's what matters. The files did not accuse Michael of any crime. They did not link him to Epstein's trafficking network. They did not show him on flight logs tied to the island. The image was reportedly taken around 2002.
So it's a real image. I'm seeing that this is from the files, so I mean, look, it's not really out of the realm of possibility, to be fair, that they would have met. I mean, if he was connected like that, he's meeting the Dalai Lama, he's meeting presidents, he could meet Michael Jackson.
Or 2003 in Palm Beach.
The Justice Department recently released files that revealed several prominent celebrities on Jeffrey Epstein's contact list. Some of the names included are Michael Jackson, Alec Baldwin, Naomi Campbell, Mick Jagger, Prince Andrew, Robert F. Kennedy's late mother, Ethel Kennedy, and former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Why Michael's name exploded again. The moment
We'll watch like 2 minutes of this.
Michael's name appeared in the same set of documents as Epstein, people didn't stop to ask questions. They reacted. And honestly, that reaction wasn't random. Michael Jackson has been surrounded by controversy for decades, so when his name shows up anywhere near a scandal, it spreads fast. That's just reality. For some people, the photo felt like confirmation.
This part says how Michael tried to save kids from Epstein. We'll watch this part.
Matters. How Michael Jackson tried to protect children. Michael Jackson spent a huge part of his life around children. That alone made people uncomfortable. But look at what he actually did. He donated millions to children's hospitals. He paid for medical treatments. He invited sick and poor children to Neverland so they could forget their pain for a few days. To him, Neverland wasn't just a ranch with rides and animals. It was a place where kids could feel safe and happy.
These statements about me are totally false. As I have maintained from the very beginning, I am hoping for a speedy...
The media often showed it as strange, suspicious, even dark. But many of the families...
Meanwhile, by the way, the media are the ones covering up for all these people raping kids. The same... Look, this is what fucking drives me insane. Like, I could literally lose my shit right now. Michael Jackson was being slandered by the same people who were protecting Epstein. The same people who were protecting Harvey Weinstein. The same people who knew about all of these individuals. The same people participating in the dinners. How many people who owned media companies who slandered Michael Jackson were in the Epstein files themselves? These people were in the Epstein files. They had the audacity to call an innocent man a pedophile. One of the most prolific philanthropists and performers of our time that has ever existed. One of the most important individuals, and I fucking love Michael Jackson because he doesn't get enough credit. He was one of the most prolific, philanthropic people to ever walk this earth. The actual pedophiles, the actual sick people, they actually had the gall to kill this guy, because I genuinely do think this killed him. This killed him. It killed his spirit. It killed everything about the guy. The guy died at 50 years old. They killed this guy. They killed a man. And they all along, they're the pedophiles. They're the weirdos. They're the creeps. They're the wackos. This dude was a philanthropist.
Very
Fuck
differently.
that.
They talked about laughter, movie nights, animals, and a break from real-life struggles. At the same time, the whole world was focused on Michael.
And we enjoyed it. We did enjoy it. But this allowed me to have a place behind the gates where the entire world, everything that I love is there.
Every rumor became big news. Every accusation turned into a huge debate. He was investigated, taken to court, and judged in front of everyone. But in the end, he was found not guilty. There was no conviction. Still, the label followed him for years. Now, years later, the world has seen that real child abusers were hiding in powerful circles.
Sickening.
Some of them had money, connections, and influence. For a long time, they were not questioned the way Michael Jackson was. They were not followed by cameras every day.
And dude, think about how many people Michael knew about. See, people talk about Epstein's intelligence and the intelligence of all these guys. Think about what Michael knew behind the scenes. That's why he made that song, They Don't Really Care About Us. And they censored the shit out of that song. That's exactly why, dude. And why do you think he's dead? What if he woke up and was like, you know what? You guys want to know something about Sony Music? You guys want to know something about Tommy Mottola? Which he did say. They were like, wait a second. He knows a lot about us. We can't have this guy walking around. Somebody says Michael Jackson's my idol. What are you talking about, dude? I don't have a human idol. That's just odd to me. Are you going to go see the Michael Jackson movie when it comes out? Yeah, I'll see it, sure. I mean, yeah, why not? I'm not big on biopics, but I'll check the movie out.
They were not discussed on every talk show. They were able to move quietly while the public attention was fixed somewhere else. During those same years, people were constantly arguing about Michael. His name was always in the news. Every rumor became a big story. Every accusation became a global debate. It felt like all the focus was on him. That difference is making many people question the story they were told for years. Maybe the man who was shown as a monster was not the danger people believed he was.
When other men have their Ferraris, or they have their it's an airplane or a helicopter or whatever they find, wherever they find their bliss. And my bliss is in giving and sharing and having simple, innocent fun.
Maybe he was not perfect. Maybe he was different and sometimes hard to understand. But he may have truly wanted to protect children and make them happy because he knew what it felt like to grow up without a normal childhood. As time passes, the truth often becomes clearer.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that this is coming to light. And I like that everybody in the chat knows about the Sony Music stuff. I mean, Tommy Mottola, the stuff he was going to expose was big. And that he already had people in the streets holding signs saying, fuck Sony. Like, for the people who haven't seen these videos, you got to take a look at these videos because this explains to me, again, this is just my theory, but this to me explains why he's dead. And look what happens to any other artist that tries to expose stuff. Thank you guys for the love in the chat, by the way. But think about any other artist that tries to expose or tries to push against that mainstream narrative. Any artist who is not like the Grammy darling or like the media darling that's pushing the agendas they want them to push, those people get fucked. They try to ruin their careers. I think the latest example was Drake. Drake has never been the industry guy. He's been the dude who managed to get big outside of the industry. He knows a lot of shit that he could expose. He refuses to fall in line and push their agendas about social issues, political issues. Look at what happened to him. He got fucked last year. And they put Kendrick in the spot that he was at to fuck with him. That's what I mean. This is the same thing. I'm seeing Prince mentioned. Prince is the exact same thing. Bob Marley, exact same thing. John Lennon, exact same thing. This is what happens. Trevor Moore, I'll look into that. So let's just look at 2 seconds of this and then we can jump to something else. But since we're on Michael, I think this is interesting.
Just give them any two songs. You know, being the artist that I am, at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
Yeah! See, this is exactly when you die. When you become bigger than the machine that established you where you are, that made you at that level, it's like when you try to screw the government. Like if you like, there's certain entities that you don't try to screw. Government and big business when you're an artist, I would say, is like they're two parallel things. The second, and again, the artists that I mentioned, the Drakes, the Lennons, the Marleys, they became bigger than the establishment that built them. They became bigger than the record label. And the second you get to that point, you have too much influence. Your days are numbered at that point. You can't outthink the people who made you. Read the 48 Laws. Never outshine the master. See, people think that those laws, those 48 laws, if you've read the book, they don't realize it can be life and death because those laws come from ancient history. They don't come from civilized times. So why would that be in the 48 Laws? Never to outshine the master? Because if you outshine the master when those laws were first created, you would get your head chopped off. That's where the law comes from. It's not never outshine the master to be polite or because it's frowned upon. That became a rule because your head would be rolling across the floor if you outshined your master. And a lot of people don't realize that in this mask, you know, under the veil of civilization, under the veil of a society that actually functions in a civilized way, we still live by those rules in many circles. Government's one of them. Hollywood's another. You don't comply. You're simply just killed. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to accept because we're under the veil of civilized behavior. we're still somewhat buying into the fact that we have a civilization, that there's a way to act, that there's moral codes, that there's things that we do and things that we don't do. None of those rules exist in powerful circles. They're still doing it like, 1641, like we talked about earlier. That's the scary part.
Owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it, but I just did good business, you know.
No.
Tell him! Tell him, Michael!
I love the hype man in the background.
The story!
But, so, the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. But I've always said, you know, good art never dies.
Yeah, rest in peace to the GOAT, bro. Rest in peace to the GOAT. A lot of different stuff happening with Epstein, though, man. It's insane, but I'm happy that we're starting to see some accountability. Even though I do feel like it's for show in a lot of scenarios, even though I do feel like it's performative, it's scapegoats that are going to be held accountable. I'll put that in air quotes. Held accountable. It's not going to be the real people who are actually responsible. I've seen in the chat even here, people are saying Epstein's not the top of the totem pole. There's no way he is, because the people at the actual top of the totem pole are never, we probably don't even know their names. You know, that's the sad reality of this. And most of the people, this is what I always say about Epstein and why I'm not satisfied yet with where we're at. Because most of the people who put Epstein in the position to be Epstein, to be in the situation he was in the yachts he was in the houses he was in, most of those people are still roaming free. And we don't know anything about these people. And there's also nothing preventing these people from keeping this going. You know, here's the thing about a sex trafficking ring. They don't need one guy to do it. If you think there's all these powerful people, all these elites, all these government folks who are trafficking folks, you think that ends because Epstein is dead? You think they're just going to pack it up and stop? I'm not buying that. This is still happening. This is all still happening. So I don't believe that it's even over. I don't believe anybody's really being held accountable. But at least put a couple people in jail. If that's the best we're going to get, guys, then what do you want me to do about it? Trump said he was exonerated. Excellent podcast. Thank you, brother. I suppose you think Trump is guilty? I mean, guilty of what? I don't necessarily think, I mean, yeah, what do you think Trump is guilty of? It depends what you're asking. I think he's guilty of a lot of things. I think he's also innocent on a lot of things. Do I think that he was sleeping with minors at Epstein Island? Probably not. Do I think that he's a bit of a creep and he doesn't mind 16, 17-year-old girls? Yes, I do think that. I'm not sure how far it goes, but I do think Trump's a bit of a creep. I mean, he's been handsy with 16, 17-year-old girls in public. He's made comments about how he would date his daughter if she wasn't his daughter. He's compared his vice for young women to be like alcoholism. So, you know, he had underage females working at Mar-a-Lago serving alcohol. Super inappropriate, super creepy. To me, even that is a red flag. I mean, if you talk about how you love blonde women like an alcoholic likes whiskey, and then you have 16-year-old blonde women of the exact type that you've described working at your bar, that to me is a major red flag. Especially when there's known sex offenders and known bad people working there. or patrons there, that's creepy to me. So, again, I'm not here to make anybody agree. That's just where I stand. I think if you're behaving in that way, you're kind of like a dirty old man. And that, I mean, I think it's pretty widely accepted that Trump's a creep. I mean, I think even he's been very open about that. He called himself a sex offender on the Howard Stern show. Did you not see this? Trump Howard sexual predator. He literally was like, yeah, I'm a sexual predator. Like, he says it. It's not me saying it. Like, I don't think it's a secret that Donald Trump's a bit of a pervert. And again, you can be a pervert to adult women, but when it starts getting creepy, you're not going to have me backing you. That's for sure. Like, I think that's kind of crazy to support that.
Donald, do you ever discuss sex with your daughter?
No.
You do not?
No.
You've never sat her
And I
down?
have a feeling we're not going to hear.
Yeah, no.
Another embarrassing video from a 2006 Howard Stern show has surfaced. It shows Trump alongside daughter Ivanka and son Don Jr. joking about being a sexual predator.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
You are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
That's crazy, man. Dude, I bet Donald Trump regrets so badly ever doing Howard Stern, by the way. Like, every single clip from Howard Stern that Trump has ever done is just used to make him look terrible. And it is bad out of context if people don't understand that show, because that show is... Howard gets people to say things on that show that they would never say otherwise. But, yeah, that's not a good-looking clip, dude. So, yeah. You know... He wants to grab him by the pussy. He's comfortable joking about being a sexual predator. He's not exactly the Pope, okay? Let's put it that way. Yeah, he's a bit of a pervert. Absolutely. Why, guys, like, what are we acting like this is a surprise? Why are we acting like this is news? This is well documented. Epstein didn't kill himself. I agree, dude. So, chat, what do you guys think? Who's going to be arrested next? Do you think that we're going to see... Just drop... Okay, how about this to make it easy? Are we going to see real accountability in this case? Just drop a yes or no. When I say real accountability, I mean, do you think the likes of a Bill Gates will be arrested? Do you think a president could be arrested? How far do you think this is going to go? And do you think there's going to be actual accountability in the Epstein case? I maintain my position thus far, which is that we will see scapegoats. We will see people who are not really consequential to the elites go down for this. But I don't think we're going to see anybody of consequence go down for this. It's just not really possible. We're seeing no in the chat. Do I think Epstein is still alive? I don't know about being still alive, but I don't think he killed himself. But I mean, if he was alive, I really wouldn't be surprised. You know, nothing surprises me anymore, guys. That's really... I'm just not surprised by a thing. If you were to tell me that Epstein was another person in a skin mask, in a suit, and it was really some other dude all along, like, I'll believe anything at this point, because the stuff that we've verified is so crazy. It's so crazy that I shouldn't even believe what's already come out. You're telling me there's a Mossad agent with a sex island? He's got Stephen Hawking, Bill Clinton, and the Dalai Lama coming to the sex island? I'm like, at this point, I'll believe anything. If you're telling me this shit is true, Stephen Hawking crawled his fucking crippled ass onto that island to sleep with kids. If you're telling me this is true, then there's nothing I won't believe. Reality is stranger than fiction, my friends. Everything that's true is stranger than any of the theories that are happening. That's the scariest part. The theories are not even as crazy as the stuff that we've just accepted. Oh yeah, he was there, and Trump was there, and Howard Lutnick was there 100 fucking times. It's insane. What is happening? I don't even know what's happening anymore. I was a lot more comfortable. You know, it was a comforting feeling when I could at least be called a conspiracy theorist. Because I would say the world is ran by satanic pedophiles, and people would say, you're crazy. And I could at least say, you know what? Maybe I am crazy. Wouldn't it be nice if I was crazy? Because then this wouldn't be true. You know, I would prefer to be a crazy conspiracy theorist than for the people in charge to actually be satanic pedophiles. I would much rather be unhinged, carried away, far-fetched. That would be a much better outcome than this being true. You know, at least when the conspiracy talk was there was some little distance from it where maybe it could not be true. Now you say this stuff, nobody calls you crazy. They're just like, yeah, we know already. And there's just sort of not really much reaction to it. People just kind of go about their day. Yeah, the world is ran by satanic pedophiles, but anyway, the game's on tonight. We're having queso. I just made a new recipe for queso, and I just worked overtime this weekend. So I made a couple extra dollars. That's pretty much the reaction to the world being run by satanic pedophiles. I'm making queso. I'm trying the new White Claw flavor, which just came out. It's a limited edition. And Drake dropped a new McDonald's meal, so I might try that. They have an owl on the cup. That's about the extent of the reaction from the everyday person to the world being ran by pedophiles. I felt a lot better when I was crazy, and it probably wasn't true. It's comforting in a way. That's what's scary to me. The reaction to it is almost more scary to me than the actual fact. And maybe that's why this went on for so long. Maybe people don't really care that much. Maybe people are a lot more comfortable with pedophiles than I was aware of. You know, maybe it's not that outrageous to a lot of people. Maybe they're okay with it. I can't really wrap my mind around the reaction to this. Maybe it's a state of shock. Maybe people can't believe it's true and they don't know what to say. But it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Have you seen the comparison of the Florida Maxwell prisoner and the Texas Maxwell prisoner? They don't match. I did. Let me look at that. Ghislaine Maxwell. So a lot of people were trying to say it wasn't Ghislaine. Let's see if I can find it on YouTube. I did see that. She does look different, but yeah, body double in jail. This is so, the rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper. Let's look at this. So, okay. What do you guys think? Is this the same woman? Okay. Yeah. That does not look like the same woman. Whoa. Whoa. Hold on. They're going to show more videos here. Let's look at this. So they're saying even when she was lying down, she doesn't look the same. Let's zoom in so you guys can see. I don't know though. You can definitely have your appearance change in prison though, right? Somebody says she's put on weight. Her features do look different though. But see, it's not fair when they put a picture from like 20 years ago. That's when it doesn't really add up. This is an old photo. I'm seeing that ain't her. It doesn't really look like her. I mean, the nose is, it's like, see, if your nose would change, I would think it would look better, not worse. Like, it looks like this is pre-nose job, and then this looks like it's post-nose job. How could she make her nose fat like that? That's some Australian lady they kidnapped. That's funny as fuck. What if it's Epstein in a wig? Yeah, that's weird, dude. But it is like kind of wacky that she's the only person being held accountable. She was the assistant. Like, I'm not saying she shouldn't be in jail. Don't get me wrong. She should definitely be behind bars. But why is she the only person? Like, I would be pissed if I was her, dude. If I was the only person locked up, I would be pissed. So they're probably trying to do something to get her out or swap her out or... But she's a creepy lady, man. I don't know if you guys saw that when she was in court, she actually did a sketch of the court sketch artist back to them. So while the court sketch person was making their artwork, she was at her thing in court, and she showed that person, she drew them back. Like, she's a creepy chick, dude. Super, super creepy chick. And her dad was obviously Mossad as well. I mean, the whole family's fucked. The whole family's suspicious. Epstein in a wig. I mean, I don't know, dude. Like I say, a sex island with Stephen Hawking and Bill Clinton, that's a crazier reality than Epstein in a wig. I will believe anything. Let's look at Pam Bondi. Let's look at just a couple recent things happening about Epstein, guys. If you're liking the stream, make sure to like and subscribe. I appreciate you guys being here. Let's look at some more stuff about Epstein here. All these fake live streams. Live Pam Bondi. This happened days ago. Check this out.
Thank you so much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people approve of Trump's handling of immigration and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection,
that is a net drop.
Now I recognize the
Negative
gentleman
20.
from California, Mr. Liu.
Oh, you guys can't hear it. My bad. I'm sitting here playing a clip. My apologies. Hey, thank you guys for the love in the chat, man. I appreciate you guys.
For being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two
So this is
photos.
tying back to the original story, guys, of Prince Andrew, just to tie it back into the OG headline.
Photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the federal victims...
I can't believe people in my chat defended this photo, by the way. Somebody was like, she looks 18. Dude, I don't give a fuck if she's 30. Does this look appropriate to you? She looks like she was knocked out. Her hand is stiff. She's laying on the ground. It's crazy how far people will go to defend these people. Who don't even care about them, by the way. Like, Prince Andrew would literally spit on you and step over you on the way to the Louis Vuitton store. Like, these people don't care about us. But people defend them still.
Protection Act. Not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you. I agree with you. During
Did
the
you not hear
the Biden administration,
People are saying it was a CPR class. Why would he be in a CPR class? Guys, come on. That's so ridiculous.
I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable.
Facts.
And you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I answer
question.
your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered the
Andrew?
question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video.
They love using this video.
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files
I'm reclaiming my time.
be
I got your
released.
answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
that
please
those
stop the
files
clock.
be
My
signed,
time. Stop the clock.
The legislation. This is
Time.
this
I'd like
is
to reclaim my
ridiculous.
time.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide.
That's crazy. See, that's the only type of stuff that makes me really suspicious about Trump. Because you're telling me somebody who accused him of that had their head blown off? Again, this is all... Again, this is stuff that anybody could say, though. We have to keep this in mind. This whole phone call that this guy made could be fake. The entire scenario that we're hearing about here could be fake. There's no actual evidence of this, to be fair, except for the woman is dead. But the whole thing is super suspicious. It's super, super suspicious. I mean, to say that there's no evidence against Trump, I think is disingenuous, too, because he was... You know, whether it was willingly or not, there were girls, females, underage females, being transferred from Mar-a-Lago under Trump's watch to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, he did claim that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because of this, and he cut ties with him after he was convicted. And yes, this may be true, but the fact for me that stands in the way of me feeling like Trump is completely exonerated. And this isn't a pro-Trump or an anti-Trump thing, guys. Like, I hate when people try to spin my takes into a political picking sides kind of thing. I'm not picking sides politically. I'm trying to look at the facts in an analytical way and decipher them. I don't care if this was Obama, if this was Bill Clinton, if this was George Bush, if this was Kamala Harris. I'm going to react to it the same way. It's about the facts. So it's not about Trump. I like him. I don't like him. It doesn't matter. I'm looking at the evidence here. And there are some things that it's like there's smoke here. If this was somebody else, like this is what people do because they get blinded by their political affiliations. Just look at it if it was somebody else. If some restaurant owner in your town was hiring underage girls and being creepy towards those girls, and then girls from there ended up working for a known sexual predator, I mean, it's a suspicious scenario. It doesn't matter if you like Trump. It doesn't matter if you hate Trump. It's just kind of a suspicious scenario that shouldn't really be happening. You shouldn't have underage girls serving alcohol. You just shouldn't. You shouldn't have underage girls around these people. You should know better. And the whole thing with Trump is he doesn't seem to really mind. She's 16, she's 17, whatever. You know, she looks a certain way, and that's good enough for him in a lot of scenarios. That's just the image he puts out there. That's not me coming up with this. This is the image that Trump puts out there. This is what he says. This is what he does. So politics aside, you can be MAGA to the death of you. That's cool. But let's not let it cloud our thinking, though, because that's when we get to a point where somebody can just actually be a dictator. You know, the best way, people who really, really are diehard for Trump, their whole thing is, he's not a dictator. He's not a dictator. Well, if he's really not a dictator, let's have a couple of moments where we maybe question what he's doing. Because for somebody who's not a dictator, that's normally how that's handled. You know, we can see them doing something, we may disapprove, we may question what their involvement was in something, we may question if they're making the right decision. With Trump, it's like, hail Trump, or you're either with him 100% or you're against him. We've lost any sort of common sense when it comes to Trump. It's all or nothing. Ever since really he came into the political scene, it's been like this. It has to be all or nothing. And we can't actually call out when something was right versus when something was wrong. If you criticize him, it's not accepted by his base. I think the best way to dispel this dictatorship talk and all of this is, you know, people can ask questions. People can not approve of everything he does, and that doesn't mean that we're against him. I don't know, man. The whole thing is just super creepy. Why isn't he suing the people accusing him? I don't know. I don't know that he's not suing them. He may be working on a lawsuit right now. I don't know who Donald Trump is suing or not. I think he's suing a lot of people. They ate babies. Look, man, it's a sickening thing, but we've heard a lot about this. See what the chat's saying. Yeah, man, I agree. The poor children, that's who we have to remember. Thank you very much, guys, for liking the commentary. So look, at the end of the day, this is crazy, bro. It's crazy to see how far this story has come. Let's listen to a little bit more of Pam Bondi. The pedophile protector-in-chief, by the way, one of the most sickening people in this whole scenario. For me, it's Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. I think those two need to be deported. I mean, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are two of the most despicable pedophile enablers this world has ever seen. They need to be in prison or they need to be deported. Absolutely disgusting individuals.
No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
Facts.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question, Ms.
Head. You're allowed to.
I did not.
She's so disgusting.
Recognized.
And didn't she meet Trump in college, by the way? She's like, yeah, we met in college. I'm like, how the fuck? Again, exactly his type. Exactly his type. This dude is so funny.
Kicking us unlikely phone call that led to an endurance. Do you ever imagine?
And they got his daughter-in-law interviewing her. You can't make this shit up.
That one day you would be the United States Attorney General.
Come on.
Absolutely not, Laura. No. I thought, I'm going to go back to my great life in Florida. And then I was seriously considering
I don't
running.
want to hear this woman.
Is recognized for 5
May I
minutes.
respond very briefly to her statement?
Well, I think we can do that
Okay.
probably on
Next.
one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact, a list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released.
Rakester, we talk about everybody, man. I've done a deep dive on Bill Gates. We do a deep dive on everybody.
This email in the document production, literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this.
Oh, he unredacted it? That's crazy.
By the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files, but he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see. Because
who's saying I'm a Democrat, man? I'm not a Democrat. I've never said I'm a Democrat.
We can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This isn't how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
Yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? This is a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a
47
co-conspirator.
Oh, she thinks it's funny, too. Look at her laughing. Hee, you caught me. You caught me protecting the pedophiles. Whoops. I accidentally blacked out the names. It was only one, though. Crooked fuck.
One redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you
in.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Trump derangement. It's always Trump derangement syndrome. Isn't that convenient? Anybody who calls out sexual predators, sex trafficking, the elites abusing their power, they all have Trump derangement syndrome, right? So you can't listen to anything they say. Never mind those crimes happening in the corner. Never mind those kids in that van. They're Trump deranged. It's a syndrome.
You're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I want you to watch the video.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you?
That was
talk
Epstein's
about
phone number, 1-800-FBI. That was Epstein's direct line. But I'm supposed to trust them.
Reclaiming my time. I'm glad you're asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't-
bigger
when
than
you can't-
Watergate.
when I don't answer a question the way
This
you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
Everything's a deflection with her. You know, when I watch these people, and I've never really been politically inclined, but when I watch the people who've managed to worm their way into power, I'm like, I could probably win something. I mean, if there's people this stupid, and guys, I'm not claiming to be an expert on anything. I'm not a political expert, but I'm starting to think these people aren't either, because these people are remarkably dumb. You know, we're taught to think that these people are somehow, you know, we even call them the elites. How can these people be elite if they're so stupid? You know, the average person I meet on the street is smarter than Pam Bondi. The average person I meet at a hostel here in Thailand is smarter than Kash Patel. How do these idiots run anything? They're, you know, if you're going to be a liar, at least be good at it. You know, at least have a good story. Know your line. Know what the line is. What is the lie anymore? What is the lie for Epstein? I don't even know. First it was a hoax. Next it was, well, Obama should have talked about it. Next, well, it's real, but Trump's not in it. Next, well, Trump's in it, but he didn't do anything. What's the lie even? What is our line here? These are the people we're supposed to trust? These are the elites. Yeah, the self-professed elites. Exactly. Who the hell is coming up with this? If these are the people running the show, it makes me feel like a genius. It's unbelievable. Yeah, I agree with the AI ban, by the way. There should be no... I mean, AI, we're going to have to get that under control. I think AI porn could be really, really bad. Really, really bad, obviously. Yeah, celebrities are in it too, 100%. Let's look at just a couple more clips, guys. If you're liking the stream, make sure to like and sub. We got new content coming out all the time. Let's look at this one. So Les Wexner, actually, who they were just talking about, appeared in court, and his lawyer said, "I'm going to effing kill you." What is this? This came out 5 hours ago.
I think it.
Whoa. I will kill you if you answer another question more than 5 words. That's crazy. Cassius, you're right. We the people are better suited to serve, but who will sign up to serve this great nation? That's the problem. Well, they're going to have to make it so that we can do it. I mean, the reason that we don't get the quality people that we should get is because you have to be rich basically to run in the first place. That's the thing. I mean, there's no real pathway for somebody without money and influence to become a politician. So we would have to have a more fair system that I think relies more on like the internet and things that don't cost money. Like to just, for a regular person to be the president, they'd have to be a streamer or something and just like put their message out and have a big audience naturally. And then maybe acquire influence like that. But that's why we don't get actual people that we want to serve, because there's no pathway for them to win. Yeah, I'm going to replay it. Sorry, I just wanted to answer that.
Answer another question. 5 words, okay? I think I'm giving a...
Crazy. And this guy, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, Les Wexner, this was the guy who basically was Epstein's right-hand man. When it comes to all the mansions that you saw Epstein in and all of the different locations that he was bringing people, most of those locations were actually loaned to him by this man, Les Wexner. The mansions, the mega properties. This is the guy who just gave Epstein the keys and said, come in. So this is one of the most instrumental people in Epstein actually operating. Let's play it one more time.
Answer another question. 5 words, okay? I think I'm giving a long answer, but to understand in context. Because if I just say yes or no, you won't understand it. And I really want this whole group to understand it. And I never would have guessed I was being conned. Never, ever. The deceit was so subtle. Yes, I know.
Answer the question.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure we all appreciate the stories. We're just trying to answer the questions they actually wanted the answers to.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
I hope it is.
And could I ask you, I think you said in the last hour, it was your understanding that Mr. Epstein, while he was working for you...
So he said he was conned by Jeffrey Epstein. How are you conned by him? You rented out your properties to him so he could bring women there to assault them. Where was the scam exactly? When he asked you for the villa or when you said yes? When did the con occur exactly?
It's a general question, but approximately how many years were you...
Hi, Pam.
Associated with Mr. Epstein?
I don't recall exactly.
And to be clear, you at no point ever considered him to be a friend.
No, I didn't see Jeffrey as a friend. I saw Jeffrey, as I see Matt, my attorney, as friend. We're friendly, but we're not friends. I mean, obviously, someone that worked for you in a trust position, you're friendly with. You're not in a hostile, adversarial, argumentative position with the people that are advising you.
It's been reported repeatedly that you were close friends with Mr. Epstein. Why do you think people would come to that conclusion?
Objection, hearsay.
Speculation, because he would tell him that. But he told me he was friends. I mean, if you told me...
But why are you not listening to your lawyer, though? The guy objected the question.
That you were friends with Bill Clinton, I would believe it. Or if anybody told me somebody was a friend, I would believe it. So I think the perspective that I have now, and I think what's really important for this group to understand, is that as I look back at it, I was conned by the world Olympic all-time con artist. And you look at, I read in the news all the people he knew, royalty, kings, princes, and all that. An incredible con artist.
But what's the con, though? Because from what I understand, Jeffrey Epstein, he was the guy giving resources to these people. You know, the main reason people say they talked to Jeffrey Epstein was, well, he had phone numbers of powerful elites I could connect with. He knew business owners. He knew heads of state. He knew folks that could help me advance my career. That's what everybody says when they ask, why were you connected with Jeffrey Epstein? That's what people tell the world. So if Epstein is a con artist, why was he the one providing all of the value? Usually when you're conned, you're providing value to somebody who maybe doesn't deserve it, or they are getting it under false pretense. How is Epstein a con artist if he's providing the value? We're supposed to believe Lex Wessner got nothing for this. He just let Epstein use his multi-million-dollar houses. I mean, let's look at Les Wexner Epstein house just to get an idea of the scale. Look at the properties this dude was lending out to Epstein. Hold on, let's get a clear photo. They're all fuzzy photos. This doesn't even look real. Like, this doesn't even look real. The scale of these estates, this was all lent out to Epstein. You're supposed to, you know, I'm supposed to believe that Les Wexner got nothing in return? Epstein provided no value and he was conned, right? It's so stupid. It's an insult to our intelligence. Bald in the chat asks, what do we do? I'm curious. I'll tell you what we do. I know exactly what to do. What we do, guys, is we make life essentially unbearable for these people to live. Every public occasion, we need to be shouting at them. I don't encourage or incite violence. But we need to be shouting the questions at them everywhere they go. Any speaking engagement they have, there needs to be 30 people, 40, 50 people in the audience getting up, disrupting it, screaming, shouting, release the files, what's your involvement? Every restaurant they go to, there needs to be a crowd of people questioning them. I do not want them walking into one 5-star establishment without being harassed for the rest of their lives about this. I'm talking Bill Gates. I'm talking Netanyahu. I'm talking all of these individuals. I'm talking Les Wexner. I'm talking anybody who's implicated. Every single place they go to eat or shop, and every flight they get on, and every public moment that we see these people needs to be focused on nothing other than this case. And we stay on their asses. You stop buying from their companies. You stop supporting it. You stop buying the sneakers. You stop investing in the crypto potentially. You stop buying the computer. You stop buying the phone. You got to hit these guys where it hurts. And look, these guys don't hurt much because they don't feel much. They don't have many emotions. These guys aren't affected by much, but they're affected by two things. Losing face publicly and losing money. Those are the two things that affect these people because, again, they don't have morals, so they don't care about much else. The only reason they care about saving face publicly is because that affects their business, which affects their bottom line. If they lose face publicly and they lose money, we might wake them up a little bit. What's not going to wake them up is complaining at home and doing nothing. Because these guys don't care if the whole world hates them. As long as they're still making money, it's really not a problem for them. As long as they're making money, as long as they're still able to operate in the way that they are accustomed to operating, the way they're used to operating, they're not going to have any problems. So that's what I would say. We need to make life essentially unbearable for these people to live. I don't think we should give up our phones and computers. Just stop buying them. Like, if you're still buying products from Microsoft, you can't complain about Bill Gates. You're paying Bill Gates. So it doesn't add up. That's what we have to do. We may have to sacrifice a little bit of our comfort if we actually want to combat this. It's a mad world, ladies and gentlemen.
I think Mr. Epstein thought you two to be friends?
Objection. I don't know what he thought.
When did you learn that the Palm Beach Police Department was investigating Mr. Epstein?
I don't recall.
Mr. Epstein was convicted in 2008. Did you maintain any contact with Mr. Epstein after his plea deal?
As I recall, concomitantly with Abigail taking over the finances, and my wife is a M&A lawyer. She worked for Davis Polk.
I love that clip of Bill Gates with the pie. And again, I have to make it clear for, legal reasons, I don't endorse violence of any kind. So I don't suggest anybody does that. However, what's the legal term that I learned recently? Hypothetically, in my opinion, the video was funny. If you say hypothetically, in my opinion, chat, you can get away with saying anything. So hypothetically, in my opinion, that video was funny. You guys haven't seen what I've been through on this channel, man. That's why I've had to really figure out an approach to talk about some of this without getting myself shut down. That's why I've taken a little time to think about how I'm going to go about it. Yeah. Shout out Lois. You need Bill Gates, Microsoft? Well, that's the thing. I know it's tough. It's tough. Hypothetically, it should have been worse than what it is. Should we watch the pie clip? Just for old time's sake. Someone said that's what made him evil. He looked so innocent right before the pie hit him.
Police and security guards in Belgium were caught flat-footed today by a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft.
Listen to the way they defend him, by the way, and kiss his ass. A cowardly sneak attack against the world's richest man, our hero. Such a great man.
Were caught flat-footed today by a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates, arriving for a meeting with community leaders. Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face. Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was
so
not
scared. He thought it all ended right there.
Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled on with 2 more pies before one of them was
Why are they exaggerating so much, the hitmen? It was a pie, dude. It was whipped cream. Sitting here talking about hitman. Where was the hitman? Is he in the room with us?
Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled on with 2 more pies.
The hit squad is crazy, bro. What are these guys talking about? Insane, bro. So look, at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen next, guys, but we're going to stay on it. We're going to stay on it. We're going to keep figuring it out. We're going to keep talking about it. Make sure to subscribe. I'm putting together a new schedule, or trying to put together a schedule right now for the streams to make sure we can be more consistent. I got to be honest with you guys. I might have to stop traveling at this point. I've been wanting to do daily streams, and I'm in a different country every week. I'm in a different hotel every couple of days. It's impossible for me to make a schedule. It's really been fucking me up. And time just goes really fast when you're doing this. So I'm going to try to make a real schedule here. And guys, I might just stop traveling because I want to be one of the top streamers. I want to be here for you guys every day. I really want this. So, I've been traveling for almost a year. Maybe it's time to pivot and do something different. So more consistent streams coming. When did the pie thing happen? I think the pie happened, that was years ago, dude. That was like the 90s. Yeah, guys, so we're going to be back. Make sure to subscribe. And again, for anybody who's been waiting on streams, like I say, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, this travel shit has just been a lot. So I love you guys. Like and subscribe. We'll be back on tomorrow. I might even go live again later out in Thailand, out on the streets of some of the cool areas out here. So we might do an IRL stream later. Let me see what time I get outside. Hey, shout out South Africa, man. Shout out to everybody worldwide. I see you in the chat. Nora, One Way, What King, Amma, Lois, Bald Seagull, Mr. Wheels. I see you guys, man. I love